and they want an option. They want somebody who can honestly look after their interests.
So how do you defeat the tiger in John Saldivar, because he has been there for more than 3 terms?
Yes, and I have not seen any tigers yet, because you know what? Going around Belmopan, that tiger has become a kitten. The people of Belmopan do not want John Saldivar as their representative. I have been campaigning house to house, and the sentiment is that, you know what, we need to change. We need honesty, we need transparency, we need somebody who will work for us. He has abandoned Belmopan. He had other, other motives to be around the world.
In his statement this morning, John Briceño spoke of the Chief Justice's latest ruling against Dean Barrow and his government. In January, CJ Kenneth Benjamin ruled that over $1 billion were spent illegally by the Barrow government. He said that Barrow, as the Minister of Finance, was in breach of the Constitution, which demands that appropriation for the amounts spent be taken to Parliament for approval. In his ruling, the Chief Justice gave PM Barrow and his government time for a constitutional amendment to correct the matter. The Prime Minister will need the support of the opposition, but Briceño says the support will not be forthcoming until a forensic audit is conducted.
We also demand that a forensic audit of this illegal spending, with special emphasis on the Petro-Caribe spending, be carried out by a reputable international firm of forensic accountants. We believe that before any constitutional amendment can be considered, there must be a systemic review to ensure that this can never happen again. We also believe that those who broke the law must be made to face the courts. We will therefore present the Commissioner of Police and the Director of Public Prosecutions with the evidence, as well as the Chief Justice's judgment, so that criminal prosecutions can be instituted. No one, no Saldivar and no Barrow is above the law.
Julian Cho Technical High School remains without a principal tonight. It has been months since the school has been thrown into disruption, and word to News 5 is that 3 applications have been received by the board. The former principal, the UDP standard bearer for Toledo West, reportedly left the school's financial standing in a mess. Dr. Simon Koch's name appears several times in the Auditor General's report on Julian Cho. He was the principal for the period of the audit, and according to the Auditor General, more than $2.2 million were issued in contracts, largely to teachers, which did not comply with the Finance and Audit Reform Act. Toledo West Area Representative Oscar Requena says that a criminal investigation needs to be launched. Requena says that he would personally make a complaint to the authorities.
$2.3 million, most of it was spent among 7 or 8 teachers who teach at the school, and they were awarded contracts. One teacher, Francisco Recinos, obtained $1.1 million in contract. You have many other teachers who have been there, they are teaching there, they have school bus contracts, they have been getting additional contracts, their father getting contracts, their bus driver getting contracts. It is totally uncalled for. It is inappropriate, and parents are condemning this in the highest form that they can.
Would you file a police complaint?
Well, I will tell you, absolutely, we are looking at all angles right now, because this is important. I mean, you cannot have an administration, you cannot have a school, spending taxpayers' money, parents' money, without any accountability to the community.
As we told you, John Saldivar has resigned from cabinet as Minister of National Security, which means that he is now without a ministry and only holds the title of Area Representative for Belmopan. But the Public Service Union has joined the chorus of those also calling for an investigation of Saldivar, as well as others, including Belmopan Mayor Khalid Bilal, who have been involved with Lev Derman, the accused fraudster on trial in Utah. In a release prior to the resignation, the PSU noted that Saldivar continues collecting salary and has access to government vehicles and allowances. The union notes that Saldivar leaves no good record in respect of the public service. It calls on other unions to demand that the PM adequately addresses the rampant acts of corruption plaguing the government. According to the union, the PM's famous double-edged machete is only imaginary. When we come back, good indicators for Belize on the health of the barrier reef.
Welcome to RFNG.
While the health of the Mesoamerican barrier reef system is not in the best shape, in Belize it is showing significant improvements. A report card was released today which shows the good indicators resulting from sound management systems and legislation. News 5's Dwayne Moody reports.
A report card on the Mesoamerican barrier reef system, which spans 4 countries, shows that overall the health of the reef is not where it is supposed to be. In Belize, however, there are marked improvements, so much so that there has been increased development. It is great news for the conservation community, whose reps were present at today's launch, because the reef is estimated to contribute $1 billion to the economy through tourism, fisheries, and more.
The report card released today is demonstrating reef health data that was gathered in 2018, and it reflects that Belize has actually seen an improvement in our reef health. Our score last time was 2.8, and this time it's showing 3.0, with the most impressive improvement being herbivorous fish increase, now showing good as an indicator. A good score with parrotfish, or herbivorous fish I should say, is a good thing because it's a reflection of legislation that was enacted in 2009 that protected parrotfish and herbivores, and so these are important grazers on our reef. We want to see more of them because they eat macroalgae, and a lot of macroalgae is not good because it can tend to encroach on the corals themselves and make it difficult for corals to continue growing. There's no space for a coral recruit to land on the reef, and so we want a nice balance between how much macroalgae we have and fish. And so because of this legislation, 10 years later now we're seeing that the numbers have risen to the point the indicator is now reflecting a score of good.
According to Fisheries Administrator Beverly Wade, the report card is a reflection of management systems and legislations put in place to maintain the sustainability of the reef.
What we are now seeing is really the direct result of a number of management interventions that we as a country have been bold enough and have been pioneering to put in place and we had the kind of leadership and vision to put them in place. So Belize was the first country which placed the protection of parrotfish and grazers in place, and we have implemented, we have expanded our marine protected areas. Cabinet has also agreed in principle to now look at the expansion of our replenishment zone. Belize is one of the only countries globally that have met that global target of 20% of its territorial waters in protection. But what we have to now do is to look at how can we now be more effective at this.
But there are many factors that continue to affect the ecosystem, says Healthy Reefs Country Coordinator Nicole Craig.
A lot of the organizations collecting temperature data in Belize have shown that over an extended period of a few months, we've been seeing warmer waters, much warmer than normal. And this puts a lot of stress on the corals, causes bleaching. And so even to now, in January, February, we're still seeing a lot of bleached corals, which this is supposed to be a cooler time of year. We're supposed to see some reduction in that. And so we're also seeing, because corals are more stressed out, we may be seeing more disease on the reef, because when you're stressed, you're not as resilient, you're not as strong to fight diseases. So these are some concerns. And of course, there are other stressors like the runoff from land. Of course, we have sewage, and so all these extra nutrients in the water, apart from making more macroalgae grow and much faster with this warmer water, it also causes additional stress on corals on our reef. So if we want to properly address these things, we need to look into how we can reduce some of the pollution that's running off from our land into the water.
The Fisheries Administrator says that they now have to look at the effectiveness of the management systems and the work of partner agencies.
We need to have a certain amount of total no-take areas to replenish the rest of the system. We currently have about 7% no-take of our territorial waters in Belize, and the global ask is that you have at least 10%. And we have that commitment from Cabinet, and we are hopeful that in 2020 we would see those areas legislated so that we could actually have them functionally as no-take. That is extremely important to designate those areas. The other thing that I think is very much important is through partnerships and also through government's commitment to have the necessary resources to ensure that marine protected areas are being managed effectively. Because if you just have them there, and if they're only being operating on a mediocre scale, they don't serve the kind of biological safeguard functions that they're supposed to be serving.
Dwayne Moody for News 5.
Coming up after the break, shootings in Belize City and Corozal. 3 persons, including a 17-year-old minor, were injured in a shooting on Baghdad Street in Belize City on January 12th. Around 4 p.m., Errol Brown, Kelvin Casimiro, and the minor were walking when 2 gunmen approached and opened fire on the unsuspecting trio. The victims were rushed to the Carl Huesner Memorial Hospital for treatment. 2 have been discharged and 1 remains admitted in a stable condition. Today, police say that a number of shells were recovered from the scene and that they are looking for a person of interest in what appears to be an attempt made on the lives of the men.
The 3 of them were walking on Jar Street, heading towards Alexandria Street into Baghdad Street. That was when they were approached by 2 male persons who fired several shots at their direction, causing injuries to them.
Sir, you said Jar Street. Is there a concern that maybe the assailants were from that neighborhood?
No, we don't believe that the suspects are from that area.
Okay, so what is the current theory as to how these young men were targeted, sir?
As far as we know, we don't have anything in regards to the 3 victims. We are unaware if they have any affiliation to any group here in Belize City.
Okay, and where are they from?
They are from different parts of the city, and they are not from that area.
There was also a shooting in Corozal town, and fortunately, the intended target escaped unhurt. On Wednesday night, a gunman waylaid Michael Franklin, and as he exited his house, the shooter opened fire at him. Luckily, Franklin was able to get away from his attacker. Deputy Head of the National Crimes Investigation Branch, Senior Superintendent Gilberto Romero, shared the details the police had at today's press briefing.
Corozal police responded to a shooting incident on 2nd Street, Corozal town. Upon their arrival, they met Michael Franklin, 19 years, who reported that he was in front of his house when a male person exited from the bushes and fired several shots at him. He immediately ran off and received no injury. The scene was processed where expended shells were found at the area.
Oh, do you guys have any information as to what may have motivated that shooting?
No, not at this time. We are following, the investigation is ongoing at this time.
Up next, Healthy Living demystifies the novel coronavirus. Earlier, you saw the Ministry of Health's first press conference on the new coronavirus, or COVID-19. They used the opportunity to update the public on the latest discoveries of the new virus and their efforts at prevention and preparation. Globally, the number of new cases continues to rise, and this morning, the United States confirmed its 15th case. Meanwhile, in the Caribbean, the region is still considered at low risk for the virus. There is an overwhelming amount of information about the illness, which is a mixture of facts, conspiracy theories, and misinformation. Tonight's Healthy Living, we will help you to distinguish fact from fiction.
Emergencies generally stir a level of anxiety in people, whether it's an approaching storm, rapidly spreading fire, tsunami warning, or a new virus. The current global public health emergency status bestowed on the coronavirus outbreak has exhibited the same flurry of information all over the news and internet. And much like other emergencies in Belize, there's a fair share of rumors and misinformation. We're not alone in trying to decipher fact from fiction, so here are some helpful tips to stay educated on the topic and less susceptible to misinformation. To start, let's use this example of a myth that maybe you've seen circulating online, that the virus is not new. This myth came about when people noticed that products like Lysol or Dettol already state on their label that it can kill the human coronavirus, in addition to a longer list of viruses and bacteria. The photos and maybe your bottle at home can lead you to believe that this is true. However, if you've been paying attention to the information, the COVID-19 is a new strain of a group of viruses called the coronavirus. It has never been detected in humans until the beginning of this year. In other parts of the world, health officials are scrambling to correct the spread of potentially dangerous myths. A few weeks ago, social media posts went viral claiming that by drinking or spraying your mouth with bleach, you can kill the virus if you come in contact with it. This is not true and just overall dangerous to your health. We in Belize trust our bleach to rid our floors and surfaces of harmful germs, but it was never created to be ingested. You may have heard or seen claims around this next myth, that packages and letters from China may introduce the virus into new countries. While this one may sound possible, not when you investigate how long viruses can survive in surfaces and how the COVID-19 is transmitted. From what is known so far, the new virus seems to be transmitted like most respiratory illnesses, through droplets from an infected persons and contaminated surfaces. However, coronaviruses do not survive long on objects, as would be the case with letters or packages. There are far too many myths to debunk in just one story. The World Health Organization has dedicated an entire page online for myth-busting, clarifying misinformation. The myths range from vaccines, about whether UV lights will kill the new virus, or even whether spraying alcohol or chlorine all over your body is effective prevention. The most helpful tip on how to separate fact from fiction: only trust reliable sources for your information, like the World Health Organization, locally or Ministry of Health, and respectable news outlets. Not because you've seen it online or on Facebook means it's true. If the information sounds unlikely, start with a Google search and make sure the source is a credible one. It is essential to keep yourself informed. And remember, you can reduce your risk of the coronavirus infection by frequently washing your hands with soap, coughing and sneezing into a tissue or your elbow, and avoiding close contact with people with flu-like symptoms.
And that's the news. Don't forget that tonight's broadcast is available in both text and streaming video at channel5belize.com. You can also connect with us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/News5Live. I'm Charlie Hutchinson. Thanks for joining us. And from all of us here at News 5, good night.